Hey, Hankster, you ready for this deal?
Ready as I'll ever be.
Old stories like long lost friends, rodeos and late night bends, history before our time, round pens and pasture rides, cowboys of the Osage.
Howdy, everybody. Welcome to another edition of the Cowboys of the Osage podcast, brought to you by the Ben Johnson Cowboy Museum, located in historic downtown Pawhuska, Oklahoma. Hey, it's old Cody over here.
Hey, and
If you're seeing something a little different, Jimbo, he had a little bit of a dizzy spell a while ago, but luckily we have the next best thing walked right through the door. Hank Heinsinger. Hank, good to see you. Who do we have today?
Oh man, if we've got a show for you today, Cody, we've got we've got Terry Postrag, the IPRA World's Champion, calf roper, world renowned, been all over the country. And Terry, it'll be a good show for everybody today, I guarantee it.
Famous and infamous. Terry Postrag right here.
Fastest, most dynamite in one package that's ever been packed in there.
One of the sharpest ropers I've ever seen, Hank.
Yes, I mean, he knew Terry could rope their necks right and handle the calves, and Terry was just he can do it. He could do it.
The 85, 1990, and 1991 IPRA champ.
And champs of a lot of other things. Match ropings, anything you want to talk about. Terry's been there and done it.
All right. Welcome, Terry, to the Cowboys of the Osage podcast.
Glad to be here.
Hey, if you don't mind, sit a little bit closer to that microphone, okay, or you may have to scoot closer to it. We want everybody to hear what you got to say, Terry.
Terry, where'd you grow up?
Nowhere, Oklahoma.
Always?
Always.
Always. Never wanted to go anywhere else?
No, nowhere else, really.
Okay.
You know, that's just right on the outskirts of right here. Nowhere, what was 30-something miles away, maybe 40 miles away from here?
Got 30.
Good Lord, there's a bunch of good cowboys come from that Nowata area.
Nowata, Lenapaw, all that good country, steer open.
All the way right through here.
Yes. Big grass country. Terry, when did you start roping?
Oh, I was about 3 years old.
About 3 years old.
Yeah.
Did you want us to rope from then on, or?
That's all I wanted to do.
That's all he wanted to do?
All I ever wanted to do was rope.
Who were you watching when you were young? Made you want to be a roper?
Just my dad. I roped with my dad every day, and I was around George Yoakum, Rick Yoakum.
Oh, yeah.
I grew up around them.
Right.
John Prather. That's who I grew up around.
There's so many notables over on the eastern side of western side of Osage County and Washington County. There was lots of great ropers that came from there. Where did you? Who was your main? You looked up to your dad and you roped with your dad all the time. And what was the first time that you seen somebody rope and you said, I want to be like him?
Well, it's probably Roy Cooper. Roy roped good. When I seen him, he was 19. He won the world championship, and he really roped good.
Right. I
went to one of his roping schools and had a good time.
What was the biggest impact that you got from him when you went to his school?
Oh, I got to stay with him and rope extra after it was over. You know, stayed the rest of the night with him and rope, and it was just fun.
What did he do different than all the other rest of the guys were doing right around that time, Terry?
He's fast. What he was, he roped good.
He figured out a few of the shortcuts, maybe.
He was probably the greatest roper there ever been.
I agree.
Yeah.
He can rope calves. He can rope steers. He can team rope.
He was a winner.
Didn't bulldog very good, but hell, he probably won a little bulldogging too.
He didn't team rope very good either.
Well, he could head all right. I tell you, Terry ropes them horns pretty good too.
Terry can handle a rope. Period. It's a mouse or a steer or a calf. It don't make any difference.
Him and I won I think we entered, I don't know, half a dozen team ropings in our life. I think we won a check at every dang one of them. Terry was healing.
Yep.
No step for a stepper.
I've healed a little.
So when you're growing up, you're roping with your dad. Who was all coming over there and practicing, and you were watching at the time?
Oh, there's a lot of people coming rope with us. Rick Yoakum, John Prather. I mean, there's usually somebody there every night roping with us, but I didn't really care. I got off that school bus, I roped. And then I started riding bulls, and then I'd get off the school bus and I'd pin them bulls and ride 3 or 4 of them, and then I'd rope.
Eventually, it looks like you got to the idea once they got too big to rope, you were eating them, not riding them.
Yeah. Hank, he turned out a few of them for me.
Yeah, I've turned the bulls out. That was quite the thing. You'd have to untie the gate and watch him nod, then pull the rope all at once, and it turned into a cluster every once in a while. What about when did you decide to quit riding bulls?
My dad kind of helped me with that. He said one day I was roping a dummy, and when he got home from work, and he said, "We're gonna do some changing around here." And I said, "What kind of changing are we gonna do?" He said, "Well, we ain't gonna rope calves and ride bulls no longer. We're gonna do one or the other." He said, "You got a week to decide." I said, "Well, okay." And I kept roping that dummy. He was going in the house, and I said, "Hey, I don't need no week to decide." He said, "Well, you got a week." I said, "No, I don't need it. I'm gonna tell you now." And he didn't want me to say nothing. But he was afraid I was gonna say riding bulls, and then I told him, I said, "I'm gonna rope calves." Well, he was relieved when I said that.
He got a sigh of relief. What about the?
You could have been the next Phil Line.
Well, that's what I thought, but boy, a lot of times I woke up sore. Changed my mind a little bit.
When did you work the team roping pretty much all the time when you was rodeoing?
Oh, I did off and on. I roped with Speedy Williams, and I roped with Ronnie Paul Walton, roped them boys from Alabama, and I roped with them quite a bit.
Yeah, there's been a lot of top hands in that IRA. Speed, one of the main ones. Roy Duval was IRA champion. Todd Fox.
I roped with Paulie for 2 years in Ralph, and had a good time with Paulie. Paulie was a lot of fun.
I know.
Dexter Bailey, he was the big king in the IPRA, and Dexter, he was a roper. He was a roper and a winner.
Yeah, that's who I started going with when I was 15, was Dexter.
And, the Barry Burks and the Tom Walkers, they all came up through the IPRA. Justin Thingpen, the guy that's won the cinch timed event, he's the IPRA World's Champion many times over.
What made you decide to primarily go IRA, Terry?
Oh, it was right here. It's closer. And heck, the calves were really big in RCA then. I didn't like roping big calves. And but I went to some of the RCA rodeos and crippled my horses, and I about had finals made once, and I crippled all my horses, and I quit. But no regrets.
Oh no! I mean, there's nothing wrong with it. Sometimes I wonder what makes a guy decide to go one way and not the other way. And I see you won it in '85, and I think right around that time, you couldn't go to both. I don't think.
No,
it was against the rules in the PRCA. You could not be a member of another association at the time.
I can't remember what year it was when they changed it, but Lakeside, California was an IRA rodeo, and they let them where they get in there, and the team roping there was like 150 teams. I went it with Speed, and it paid $9,000. It was a good rodeo.
Good team, good rodeo.
There's Leo, and everybody was there.
What I mainly think about it is it's a lot of rodeos, Oklahoma east, through the whole eastern half of the United States.
Right. And then Canada has gotten huge in the IPRA, back in eastern Canada.
Oh, yeah. One of the biggest rodeos going.
Biggest rodeo.
I think that's the whole association. Now it's Canada. I mean, there's a lot of them in Canada.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, everybody who's anybody went through the IPRA. I mean, everybody. I mean, the toughest ropers there are. Joel, Paul Lee, Terry Postrach.
Sure. Yeah. And, I mean, it was, and it's to the deal now where they're all good. I mean, the IRA finals are at Guthrie. They have a good finals at the Lazy E, and I mean, there's just lots of good rodeos in the world today.
It does seem like that IRA finals did take a nice step, got a little bit bigger when it moved to the Lazy E for some reason.
Yeah, lots of people, and
they say they going to be bigger next year. They got somebody else come in and bought it, I guess, the IRA, and they said they're going to 250 more thousand to the finals this year.
Woo!
Make a good one.
I'm glad to see all this money headed Rodeo's way. Personally, it's
Where
about
all,
time.
Where all, Terry, was the you mentioned Lakeside, California. Where all else did you go to the IRA rodeos at?
Oh, they was up north, and a lot of them was in New York, but I didn't go there. I didn't like going up in there. Back then, it was just Arkansas. You could make the finals just going to Arkansas, Missouri, and Oklahoma and Texas. What you could do.
Did you ever go to the Madison Square Garden?
I went there when I was 16 and 17.
16 and 17.
What was it like?
It's nice. I mean, the arena's on the 5th floor of that Madison Square Garden. You had a big ramp that goes all the way up there to it, but they really didn't have no place to put your horses. You had to keep your horses on plywood, and Dad wouldn't let me take my horse or his horse up there, so I just had to ride whatever.
What as a 16, 17-year-old boy, what did you think of New York City?
Oh, I was Dexter. Me and Dexter flew in there the first time, and we checked it all out. I mean, I'd had enough of it pretty quick. There'd be old people sitting in the side freezing to death. I thought, this ain't right.
Did you give anybody any money?
Well, I probably did.
Did you play any 3-card money on the street?
No, I didn't. I walked down. The first place I did, I wanted to go down there under the ground and see, and there was just people laying everywhere at about midnight, and I got up out of there. I said, this ain't the place to be.
Not for a 17-year-old.
Where'd y'all stay at?
We stayed in a motel across the road from the Madison Square Garden and had it had a kitchen and 3 bedrooms, like 3 bedrooms in it.
Oh, wow.
And Sonny Pickens, me, and Dexter, and I think the Campbell boys, and I don't remember who else stayed right there.
I heard a story one time, Hank. There was a fella by the name of Junior Vaughn back in the day that was a great calf roper, but he also had a little bit of a drinking problem, from what I understand. And they were back there at Madison Square Garden, and he was winning the roping and fixing to win the roping. Well, anyway, they end up getting Junior drunk up in the motel, and they stole his boots from him, thinking he wasn't going to show up and rope his last calf. And I'll be dang, he showed up barefooted and won Madison Square Garden barefooted.
He
Hank.
wins the roping barefoot.
He win the calf roping barefooted.
There you go.
Yes, sir.
Had to adapt, didn't he? He just took it in stride and went on.
Yeah, they thought they were really going to try to teach him something that day, but I think he showed them a thing or two.
Where all, Terry, where did what was your most favorite IRA rodeo?
Oh, probably Lakeside was one of them. I won it quite a few times. Team roping, I won team rope like 8 or 9 times. Different partner every year.
Did you ever win the all-around in the IRA?
No. Second one time.
Second one time.
It's hard to beat Dan Daly.
Worked 3 events.
Yeah.
4
He
events.
might work 4 events sometime.
Right. Did you, where was the rodeo that you just always kind of dreaded having to go?
Oh, I don't know. The one that I dreaded, I wouldn't go to it.
I never really dreaded a rodeo, but one that was hard to win any money at. I'm going to tell you which one was for me, Hank.
What?
Burwell, Nebraska. I love the rodeo, love the history about it, but if anything goes right there, it goes right for a long,
Yeah.
long ways, and you can never catch up with them.
All the way to the rail.
Every stare I ever drew went right in Burwell.
Right, yeah. You go right into that sun, too.
One time I was there with my dad, and they had a 20-foot neck rope on them steers, neck rope. And that neck rope came back and wrapped around my dad's neck, and he had yellow splinters coming out of his neck for about a month
I bet.
afterwards there.
I bet.
But that was
that's
always the one. I love the rodeo, love the history on it, and the town and everything. It's great. But I tell you what, if things don't go just right in Burwell, you ain't going to win anything right there.
No.
Mine was probably no water. I might have caught 2 calves in no water.
That's your hometown spot.
I won it one time. I said, I'm done.
That's the worst one, the hometown one.
Hometowners are
At
tough.
Bartersville, I won in a bunch, but I could not catch one in no water.
Right.
That little Terry, he can't even catch one in no water.
Yeah.
That's what they're
are they
saying
talking
around
about
there.
that guy who ropes so good. Hell, I ain't never seen him catch one.
I think that's the way it is for everybody at their hometown roping, honestly.
So what was the what do you roping has, you've roped all your life and still continue to rope and always will rope as long as you can. But so what has roping Has it taught you more patience? Has it taught you more? I don't know. What's the biggest thing you've taken from roping?
Well, I just that's all I've ever wanted to do my whole life. But I have got patience now. I didn't used to have patience, but I got lots of patience. I ain't no hurry no more.
Who would have thought, all these old guys growing up, how many times you hear it, slow down and be fast. Slow down and be fast. And have a little patience and you're going to win a little more.
That's a lot of it.
But until we get old and crippled, we don't. Most of it don't dawn on us, really.
Daddy used to get mad at me when I was roping. He said, all you want to do is rope for yourself. I said, that's what I'm going to do. That's why I got you. If I mess a horse up, you fix it.
Yeah. We trained a bunch of horses growing up, and I got in a bad habit of, trying to train a little bit when I was at the roping. And my dad finally had to say, hey, we'll fix them when we get home. Why don't you try to win some money today?
Yeah, let's go win something. Let's don't train here.
They never had that problem with me because I let it roll at the rodeo.
Yeah, he was trying to win something every time. He nodded. There you go.
Daddy said, you don't ever let them horses just rope for the horse. I said, I ain't going to. I'm going to rope to win every time I rope.
You're a 3-time IRA champ, but you're also the National High School Rodeo Association champion. Was that the same year you won the IRA World Champion in 85?
No, I won it in 82.
82.
I won second in 81.
Who were all the boys you were roping with and against back there in your high school
Bobby
days?
Harris, Brian Fulton. They roped the best. But
Bobby, he won the Rookie of the Year for the PRCA when he's 15 years old.
Really?
And steer
Bobby
roping.
roped Kev's pretty good.
He ropes good, though. I mean, still.
Bobby can rope anything.
He'd rope anything. He's like
Terry.
Yeah.
I mean, Bobby roped Kev's good when he was young. I mean, but he sure did. But I went to Yakima, Washington the first time I went to high school finals. I won second. And then I won second at Douglas the first year I went, and then I finally won it the last year. I wasn't even going to go. So I went fourth to state. I never could win state. Daddy told me, if you'll go, you'll win it. I said, well, heck, I'll go. If you think that. So I went and I won it. Finally. I won 2 rounds and won the second short round.
Wow.
2 rounds, win second short round. It wasn't very far up there, was it?
Douglas, Wyoming.
What about that Yakima, Washington one?
Oh, it's a long way. 30-some hours. Well, I mean, I didn't think we was ever going to get there.
When you get to Douglas, you're not even halfway there.
But I had Sean Burchant the year I won it with me.
Y'all traveled together.
Well, me and Sean roped steers together in high school. And we roped there, and he made it in calf roping too. But I never got to throw my heel rope. When he nodded, he'd throw it.
Sean Burchett, one of the greatest cowboys to ever live. I think a 2-time world champion from Pryor, Oklahoma, steer roping. Died tragically.
Right. Sean, he
right
was...
in his prime.
Right in the prime. He was taking that steer roping by the horns now. I mean, he was...
He was a lot like Roy Cooper in the calf roping when he changed the game. Sean Burchett, growing up, nobody strung the top leg roping steers until Sean Burchett came along.
Until Sean started.
And then he took everybody's money and won the world championship a couple times, and everyone else started doing it after that. So Sean Burchett is the one that changed the game in steer roping to what it is now.
He shifted their gears and made them go a little faster.
He was quite the calf roper too, huh?
He roped calves good. He sure did. Sean was a mess, though, boy. He was a mess. He was at Cheyenne when he was 17. He won the first round. Now I'm there to pick him up to go to the high school finals, and he roped his second one that day. I think it was on a Saturday. When that steer pulled the barrier, he's going to the right. Sean was 80 feet from that sunbuck, and he tried to rope him. He come back down there. I said, "What were you doing? What were you thinking?" He said, "I'm thinking about winning first." I said, "Well, you couldn't have shot him with a 30-06. The lone roped him." Here we go. We go to the high school finals. We take off. Yeah. It didn't bother him one bit.
Well, now he done won the first round there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Done got his money back. Yeah.
I mean, he didn't even hit the steer.
What about Terry? What about what about the match ropings? Tell us some little match roping stories.
Well, I've had a lot of them. I've had a lot of matches. I've roped about everybody.
I've heard you rope Roy Cooper.
I roped Roy right here in Pawhuska.
Right here in Pawhuska.
Yeah.
Who won that match?
He beat me by 1/10.
Wow.
I broke the barrier on the 6th calf, and we both missed one. But it was a good match.
Everyone bet on Terry on that one. I bet they still won because they might have even got
They might have got a second.
They might have got a second on the deal,
Second
and
or
Terry
two.
still pulled through for him.
Hank's got it all on film. I mean, got it on a. Oh, I guess Orly filmed it, didn't she?
Yeah, I think so. That was a long time ago, though. The films have probably all rotted away.
I tell you a match I saw a while back. We were there in person, but I watched it again on film the other day. Did you see the match that Roy Cooper and Brent Lewis had at the Bob Crosby roping in New Mexico? Boy, howdy, that was just a tough match all day long. Big calves, long score.
That Brent Lewis was nobody to mess with. Now he could rope.
He was dynamite in the little package too.
Still is.
Still is.
We was at El Paso one time at the NARC finals, and me and Atlanta Mango was together. They had a jackpot right there at a guy's house, and I won the jackpot. Well, after the jackpot's over, Lanham roped Brent. Brent was about 16 or 17. Then they roped some calves that I ain't lying. They weighed 400. And Lanham big, and just flanked Godzilla. Well, Brent was running through us. I said, "What's wrong with you?" I said, "You're taking 4 hitches flanking them, and Brent's just flanking them chest high."
Yeah.
He said, "You want to rope him?" I said, "Nope, not on them." I said, "I will on the little ones."
and what? Tell him what Lanham said. He said, "No, let's get our stuff and get out of here." What?
I said, "We better get out of here. We don't want to have lunch money if we don't leave." Lanham, he still remembers it to this day about it. I mean, it was. I said, "We'll know that redheaded sunbuck when we see him again. We'll leave him alone."
We'll leave him alone.
Who's some of the other guys you matched, Terry, besides Roy?
Oh, I can't really remember.
I know they were putting you up against everybody. You know, if they come through here, they're wanting to see Terry
JD
rope 'em.
Tadlock. I roped
JD?
Yeah.
Boy, JD Tadlock. Talk about a calf roping legend there.
Horse trainer.
Horse trainer deluxe.
Horse
You know,
trainer.
that big black horse that Cody Old won so much on.
Right.
Who was standing right beside him in the box? JD Tadlock.
Yeah. Where was your most favorite place to have matches at?
Oh, probably Barsville.
Yeah, that's what I figured. Yeah.
I mean, I don't know, I had 4 or 5 matches there in Barsville. I don't believe I ever lost one there.
Really?
Who'd you match there?
I roped Chip Porterfield, I roped Randy White twice, and I can't remember the other one.
Chip Porterfield, national finals calf roper from Missouri, right? Good roper,
Cheyenne.
too. Didn't he die?
Yes,
young?
sir.
Killed in a car wreck.
Yeah. God, that guy, I saw some old film of him a while back.
I roped Randy there when I was 15.
Who?
Randy. That was my first match ever.
Randy who?
Randy White.
Gotcha.
And
Is he part of the whole White family, the calf ropers?
Yeah, he'd be Walt and Wade's dad.
There's a couple of guys. I hadn't heard their name in a while, but some calf roping
Walt,
dudes.
I've roped Walt twice, and never Wade.
Who did you, you said you didn't want to mess with Brent Lewis. Is there anybody you wished you'd have matched?
Bud Ford. Me and Bud were really good friends, and Bud really could match rope. And I rope match rope pretty good, but we allowed, you got 2 mean dogs to leave them alone, you know. And we was content, not one of us going to lose. We didn't want to lose. So
Neither one of them wanted to lose.
We didn't ever rope.
Terry's match roping style, he couldn't ever get enough. You couldn't run enough calves in front of him to ever back up. I mean, the guy before him, he'd throw his hands up. Terry'd be sitting in the box waiting on him to get out of the arena. He said, "Make your move, buddy. I'm fixing to run you another."
So you didn't play any mind games with him?
Oh, it did.
I heard Barry Burke one time unsaddled his horse in the box, letting the other guy cool off, and resaddle his horse once he's in the box, because once you're in the box, you can take all the time you want.
Well, I wasn't going to do nothing like that. That's too much work.
You're just ready to keep gunning and keep
I was
the
ready
pressure
to do
on
it.
him.
I mean, I'd put the pressure on something. I could take a lot of pressure. The pressure didn't bother me at all. You know, when you're just roping one person, it's easier to beat one person than it is 100. And I just liked it.
Terry'd back in there and say, run me another in there.
It could be 115 degrees and it wouldn't bother me. I mean, I wouldn't sweat. I mean, I could, but it does now. I can't do it now.
Did you train most of your horses, or did you buy them already, or your dad make them, or
Dad did.
you just jumped on one that was there, or what?
Dad made him. I think Pac-Man, the first horse I ever bought, and I bought him, boy, and I was really proud of him. Daddy was going to barrel race with my sister, and he come home Monday, and boy, he built me a little indoor arena. I can't wait to get out there and show him this horse. He went through the stall ducking. He said he'd do this when you bought him. I said, well, no, I wouldn't have bought him if he did that. I said, can you fix him? He said, yeah, I can fix him. I said, okay, he's yours. I was going to college, and he called me like a month later. He said, come bring my horse home. Come get this horse of yours. He's ready. I said, Dad, I can't do that. I said, college rodeo at Fort Scott this week. I'm up there Thursday, and I'm going to Danny Hamilton to a big tournament roping the next Friday. And I was at San Antonio, Houston that weekend. He said, if I got to come to Kansas, he said, I'm going to whoop you. He said, now I want my horse. So I take his horse home on Wednesday. He said, that horse is saddled out there in the barn. His calves are pinned. I said, well, you said he's ready. I just being hard-headed. I said, I don't need to rope on him. I'll find out tomorrow night. So I go to the rodeo. I 7-6 winning it. Woo. Boy, he did work. And me and Robbie Inman was going to some other deals with me. I said, Robbie, I don't know if this horse will work 19 times tomorrow. So we're going to go by Mom and Dad's, and I'm going to stop at the road and ease down the driveway and get Daddy's horse and steal him tonight. So that's what we did. I eased Daddy's horse, but I won. I rode the Pac-Man at all of them. I won $14,000 that week. I come home, and he said, what'd you do? I said, thanks for making me take that horse. I said, I won $14,000. I said, you can go with me if you want to. I'm going to go buy me a new truck right now.
Right now?
He said, well, let's go. I said, okay. So we went. We finally found one that day. That was the first little trip I took Pac-Man on.
Well, it was a pretty good trip. Bought you a truck.
You know, sometimes just feels like you'll never see another poor day, too.
I'm
You
telling
know?
you.
Yeah.
Ain't a better feeling than that.
It's never another bad day.
Hell, I remember a few times, I think 2 years in a row, we were rodeoing as a family, very, very broke. And heck, Dad won the first round at Cheyenne 2 years in a row, and we just had a hell of a time, you know, there
good time,
for
yeah.
2 or 3 days, you know.
Yeah.
So that was always a good feeling.
Yeah. Well, let's go to the steakhouse. We don't have to go to McDonald's.
Yeah, let's go to the Little Bear. What do you look for in a horse, Terry, in a good calf horse, if you're just going to buy one, ain't been roped on or anything?
I just look at the looks. I like a little horse, short neck, you know. I want a horse that can really run. I mean, he's got to stop, but
You want him to run from the corner to the line, or do you just want him to...
when you turn their head loose, I want that sunbuck running 100 the first step. And it's hard to find one to do that. That's where I'd blow him up at.
That's where Pac-Man had it.
Pac-Man could get it. Now, he was run off when you nodded your head, first step or 2 miles. He would just run. I said, how's he stop so hard and he won't stop when you're riding him? He said he's just a calf horse. Daddy said. I said, well, he was.
Well, what else do you look for in one besides a short neck and a short horse?
You got to have the right hip on a horse. Horse got to have the right hip to be able to stop. But just them few things. But now it's hard to.
What about a good set of withers or cinch deep?
I ain't
Don't matter.
I don't worry about that. I don't like them like a greyhound. But anymore, you know, all of our horses was Harlander and Oklahoma Star.
Oh, yeah.
Dad's old mare was. He got her when he was like 13 or 14. She had 9 colts, and every one of them was a good calf horse out of Harlander. You can't find them anymore, hardly.
What has the horses changed from, let's say, the 80s to now? Or, you know, I mean, you know, there's definitely era changes.
They bred the cur out of the horses. They bred the toughness out. They got all these little fine bone, pretty little horses, and they can't take it. You know, you find a horse that's got some hair on his legs, on his hocks, he's liable to make a good horse.
You used to see a bunch of older horses, like campaigners that would go from one guy to another and eventually to a kid, but you don't see the campaigners like you used to anymore.
They don't last as
seem
long.
like.
He may be right. They may not last as long.
You think it's because they don't do enough outside riding on them, or what?
Yeah, they probably don't.
They're not even broke to ride really before they start roping on them.
Probably not, but they're not. Just like the cutting horses they got now, they're all too little bitty. I mean, they can't take it. I mean, they bred the cur out of them. I think, you know, the toughness.
Some of them greatest roping horses were went back to the Oklahoma Star and Beggar Boy and
Harlander.
some of
There was
those,
some good
all from
stuff
that
in
Mason, that Ronald Mason.
They was really good horses. I had one of them horses when he was 22 to come off of them that Terry and Steve Crow's dad had, and this sucker was still a good horse at 22. We'd practice on him, and we didn't have skid boots on him, and he'd burn his oxen, they'd bleeding, and he'd still stop. I mean, you won't find one like that now.
Had a big heart.
Yeah, old Baldy came from Ronald Mason.
Yeah.
Ike Rude traded him out of him on the way to Phoenix one time.
He had a long time to work out a trade.
Yeah, back then. Can you imagine driving to Phoenix back there in 1947?
No,
no.
You'd have a long time to work out your differences.
At one time, you could go right out there around the west side of Barnesville, and you could find horses everywhere because Harlander, that's where he was, that stud. And everybody around there, even close to in town, had horses, and they'd be Harlander, and you could buy them. They'd make a roping horse quick.
I'm going to tell you one other major factor that's different now than then, Hank. Price of a horse.
Yeah.
Holy moly.
Holy moly.
Now,
They've got high.
well, it's really about time that the horse is worth the vehicle pulling him down the road because it's way more important than that truck.
If you ain't got him, you ain't no use going to the rodeo if you ain't got nothing in it.
No, you can ride a horse to a rodeo. Just might take you a little bit longer.
Right. No, the horses are really, really high anymore.
How did you used to travel back in the 80s?
Well,
Terry?
Daddy told me, he said, it don't make a dang
Did you have a big living quarters trailer and a semi?
Heck no. He said, it don't matter what we get there in. When we get there, we unload something, we can win something on it.
It just matters what we cart that money home
I mean,
in.
I'm liable to be riding a moped. It doesn't, there ain't no telling. Heck, I got to ride. We blew a truck up one time at Rockdale, Texas, and them boys was just about midnight. I said, find us somebody to come get us. Well, about 10 o'clock next morning, they ain't found nobody to come get us yet. But when I get up out of that camper, and I was mad, and I went in that truck stop, I said, well, about 15 minutes, I'll have us away home. I got a trucker to bring us all the way home. Put our horses in a lettuce wagon, or a lettuce trailer. He brought us all the way to Tulsa.
You didn't have to drive either.
No, sir. And I sat in a fold-up chair in that semi because he didn't have a chair, a passenger side chair. There was like 5 of us. The rest of them was in the sleeper.
You sat up front?
Yeah. At first, he was just going about 45. I said, hey, don't this thing go any faster? He said, yeah. I said, well, let's go.
How'd you get them up there in that lettuce truck?
There was a swimming pool. There was a swimming pool that had a deck on it and it caught on fire right there by that truck stop. And I had a little mare that we raised with me, and she was about 18, and she was a bronc. They said, Terry, I said, that mare will get in there because she's wanting to go home just as bad as we are. And they just bailed right in there, boy. I mean, took us all the way to Randy White's house. Walt was with me. And he went to roping with us, that guy did. Name was Jesse, and he was from Pennsylvania. He said, well, he went that roping with us. He said, I'm going to get back up there and I'm going to tell all them people that thinks calf roping is inhumane that if you don't jerk that sucker down, he'll get up and run over you. And he come and stayed a couple of times at the house a couple of days when he's in the area. And I let him rope one day. Oh, Jesse, he was a good guy. I mean, and he could have got fired because he wasn't supposed to have nobody in there. He said on the way home, he said, trucker helped broke down cowboys.
Trucker helped him broke down cowboys.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a wonder he kept his job. So what about the crazy things, always happens on no rodeo trail, I mean, there's thousands of millions of good stories, but how's it different now?
It didn't cost as much then, well, now it costs a lot to go, but you can win a lot, but I really
what do you think's different about the boys roping now compared to when you were roping?
Oh, they're roping littler
everybody.
Calves. They're roping littler calves now. I mean, and shorter scores. I mean, they don't put much barrier on them anymore. I mean,
right.
It changed the calf roping a little bit, and they put a little barrier on them.
What about where has calf roping has gotten so much faster, but like you say, the calf size and the length of the score and all that. But what has the ropers done to make it faster?
Well, they worked at it. I mean, it's as fast as it'll ever get now. I mean,
No more shortcuts.
there ain't no way they can time in 5.
Well, these young boys coming up now, it's just a whole different game. You know, their parents are hauling them full time all over the United States to, you know, $1,000 entry fee, $500 entry fee. You know, junior calf roping everywhere.
There's a lot of them. There was just one when I was growing up, you know, and it wasn't until I was probably 15 when they started having it, probably. It was Smith Brothers.
Right. You won it.
Won it in 83. I went 3 times and I never made the cut. Every time I went, the calves kicked. And finally, I went that last year, I went to win it. I was ready. And did. It was a good week there that week.
Did you win a trailer?
Won a trailer, saddle, about 20,000.
Woo!
Yeah, that was good times.
Hank was there. I mean,
That
Did you have a piece of that Calcutta too?
yeah, I had himself all the way through the Calcutta till the last match.
Who'd you rope in the last match?
Joe Beavers. And it was a good match. It was about 115 degrees that day. He just wasn't as tough as I was.
What'd they do, run it like a tournament style?
Yeah, everybody roped 3. They had like 200 ropers. Everybody roped 3 the first day. And the top 30 come back the next day and roped 2. And then the top 8 out of that match roped.
2 head matches, and then the last match is 4.
No, last match was 6.
Was it 6?
4 and 6. We roped 4 matches in each match. So I run a bunch of calves.
Yeah, you run a
First
bunch
day.
of calves the time it's over with.
Pac-Man ducked. He never ducked after my dad fixed him. And I mean, he ducked so bad. And I went and still on him ducking. And I called Dad and I said, this horse, something wrong with him. He's ducking. He said, well, what'd you do? I said, I went it today, but it's a bad deal. He said, well, I'll be down in the morning. Well, me and Joe, we was in at Thackerville Rodeo that night. So we go to it. And I had another horse with me, so I ride it. And Dad said, well, I'll be down in the morning. I said, okay. And I told him what room we was in. I'm not going to tell. We get back there about 2 o'clock in the morning. I open up that room, and Dad's sitting there smoking a cigarette. I like tore the door off him, just scared me so bad. I said, I thought you'd come in the morning, so I couldn't sleep. So he come on down.
I had to come on down, didn't you?
And I rode my other horse on the first 2, and she said on the second one, and Daddy said, get off of her. He said, I've got this horse ready. And he was. He did work that day. I said, what did you do to that horse? He said, well, I poked that finger in his eye. He said, you wouldn't have done it as deep as I did.
Well, if you can't see that way, you ain't gonna go that way. That's the
need
thinking.
no blinders. No.
Yeah, I've heard of that. That'll happen.
Mm-hmm.
That'll happen. Mm-hmm. It sounds like your calf roping career may not have went very far without a great set of a great dad, probably
Yeah, that's true.
mom.
He never said a word. I mean,
Sound like they helped you out. They just drive down just to help you fix
they
your horse
did.
all the way to Denton.
They did. I mean, he bought roping calves after roping calves for me, and I killed a lot of them. He never said a word.
He'd always say they was just a tool.
That's what he'd say.
They're just a tool.
Well, you didn't mean to.
Yeah.
He had me like when I was 13 years old. I had 12 good horses to rope on, and I mean they was good. There was 2 or 3 a little better than the rest of them, but that's all good. I mean,
What was your favorite horse that you always had? You talk a lot about Pac-Man, but was there another one?
I liked him the most. But I mean, I had another little horse called Goose, but it was a bronc. But he was a good little horse. He was a Harlander and a Welch mare. And he wasn't very big, but he was a handful. He would work, but he'd buck you off. The safest place around him was on him.
I've known a few like that for sure. It sounds like you tied a lot of calves down in the practice pen. A lot of people sounds like, they got 1 or 2 horses and they got a knot rope on them and they got a breakaway with them and they got to mess around with them in the box. It sounds to me, now correct me, that your dad was doing all the legwork on these horses and just letting you rope and perfect
And Dad,
how to
he
rope
still,
off a...
he still roped a lot whenever he was in his high 40s. He roped every day with me, but I don't know. I didn't really train on him. He did it, and I roped.
Yeah.
He wouldn't let me practice on the good horses. I had a horse of Henry's, a big Henry's, old mullet. I could run 200 calves on this sucker, and about the 150 when he'd go to really working. He could run. Oh, he could run. And I had him for a couple of years, didn't I? Mm-hmm. I mean, he was a good horse as long as you run 100 a day or 100 or 200. If you took him to the rodeo, you could only go 2 nights. That third night, he'd go run by him.
Yeah, you had to go back and run another 100 calves on him.
You were deadly on the ground too.
Well,
probably still pretty quick.
And that wasn't from time from the post. It was from riding the horse, roping off the horse.
I was going to say, tell him, Terry, I mean, how many calves you think you've run in a day?
Oh, I've run 200 easy, sometimes 300 in a day.
Tied down that many.
Yes, sir.
You know, that sounds like a lot like Guy Allen to me, because I don't think he did a lot of breakaway, and he didn't do a lot of stuff like that. He tied a lot of cattle down, I've heard, and you know, sounds like the same way Terry kind of did. And I think that you're going to get real good.
Might have overdid it though.
They said, well, why are you going to breakaway? Well, it saved my horse. Well, you ain't going to learn nothing if you don't get off in time, you know. And that was the mentality.
Well, a horse, if you break away on a horse, he ain't gonna stop as hard. He's not gonna get that hit. You know, a lot of horses that hit what makes them stop.
That jerk.
You mentioned breakaway. Let's just go straight to it. Women's breakaway. What do you think of it, Terry?
It's got good. It's got really good. I mean, you can have a jackpot in Bartlesville, or you can have a jackpot in no water breakaway roping, and you'll get 80 ropers every one you have it at.
It's wild. There's always been women's breakaway around, and but it has totally exploded with, I think, adding it into the American Rodeo a few years ago.
Yeah,
it's just totally changed the game on the horse market,
definitely
on the calf market, on the rodeo market.
Yep.
There's a lot going on with women's and ladies breakaway.
Well, I tell you what, I'd hate to enter one of them, because them women liable to strap it on you now. They can rope.
Well, you know, you take them girls, you know, there's a lot of 1.7s, 1.8s, you know, 1.9s, and you put a 4 or 5 on top of that, running down the rope, a flanking and tying. That means calves ought to be getting tied in 7. So what I'm saying is, I think the girls are catching them quicker than the guys are.
Well, they probably are. I mean, you don't have to, you can run a calf a long ways and still be 7 on him if you're fast. You know, and them breakaways, they can get it on them, some of them quick. I don't think I could beat them.
It'd be tough. There's some roping ladies out there.
Maybe one time, but I don't know if I I never did have to rope one that quick, you know.
And the entries, a lot of places, I mean, they're getting
80.
They're getting 100 entries, you know.
Yeah.
They get all them girls roping, and man, it just helps the whole rodeo deal.
I've seen a lot of like guys, you know, ropers' wives and stuff. It's giving them a reason to even go with them and stuff. I'm loving it.
Right.
I think it's a great deal.
It's helping the whole deal. It's just letting opened a whole nother door for a whole nother set of folks to come to the rodeo.
Jackpot at Miami last Thursday night for the college rodeo at Fort Scott, and they had 85 in the breakaway. Didn't let them enter once. They didn't let them enter twice. If they'd let them enter twice, they'd have had probably 160 ropers.
Right.
So, yeah, I was always dumb about that. However many times I could enter, that's just how many times I entered on anything, Terry.
Right.
I was already there.
Yeah. Well, they'll do that now about everywhere. Some places, they'll let you enter 3 times. I mean, if they'd done that, I could have been rich today when I was young, but they didn't do that.
They'd only let you buy so many runs.
Yeah.
Yeah, they'd say you can only enter a couple of times.
Where you roping at now, Terry?
I rope at home still.
You traveling to any?
I go to a few of them ultimate ropings. Is about all I go to.
What are they?
Just a little calf roping association down there in Texas. And
do they have people in tiers, or do they have
They have numbers.
Numbers.
They're some pretty good ropings.
How's that work out?
It's pretty good. I mean, they got me a lower number now, and I've been to 2 of them. I might go some more of them this summer, but.
How'd you get along? How'd you get along on them?
I got them, both of them. I went second at both of them.
Mm-hmm.
He's trying to keep that number low. He's trying to keep that
down there. He don't want to dominate. Yeah, he wants to keep that number down.
Well, I don't.
You just got to start telling him how old you are.
Well,
this old shoulder.
Some of them don't know what I was doing in that roping, and I said, "Well, I'm crippled."
Well, did you get off, and did you just tell him get off and watch me walk, and you'll see why I'm in here?
Yeah, I mean, I took a lot of Advil before I went to both ropings all week.
You're right, but a guy can be pretty quick on a calf, like you were just saying just a few minutes ago, on down the arena a little ways.
Oh, yeah.
As long as you keep that forward momentum going and don't really stall any. Holy moly.
But I'm, calf roping is, like Terry said, it's about as fast as it's going to get now. I don't, the shortcuts, I don't know where
I don't know. These guys like Shad Mayfield and them boys just keep coming along, and they just keep doing things that don't even look possible. There's a little kid here a while back took me to town on a game of pig, and he was doing stuff I'd never even seen before. I don't know how these young boys, they got way more times on my hands.
That's pretty good taking you on a game of pig.
Yeah,
he's pretty good. Yeah.
He took all my money.
I see that they do all kinds of rope tricks, roping them horn dummies and stuff. I didn't ever get into that. That didn't help you roping as far as I was concerned.
That wasn't where the money was it?
Speaking of roping horns, I've seen you rope quite a few steers in your life. Why didn't you take the steer roping more?
Well, I liked it. It's a bigger rush when I drop that rope and trip one. I love it, but just didn't ever train one. I liked it, but still might trip.
Yeah, I think you're just the perfect age for it now.
But yeah, probably. I've thought about making me a tripping horse, but I haven't done it yet.
Well, my dad's living over here now. Just come rope with him.
He can make one. I'll ride his.
Yeah.
Oh, shoot. Hey, we had your old college rodeo coach on the other day. I didn't know that you and my uncle were on the same college rodeo team.
Who's that?
Lewis Barnes. He was a bull rider.
Yeah.
He said you two were a handful sometimes to deal with.
We had a lot of
Gary
fun.
Parlay did.
We had a lot of fun.
Old Parlay, he's a hoot now, I tell you what.
Were you on that team too, Hank?
Oh, yeah.
That's what I thought.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So you two lived together in college.
Well, I did for a little while.
Hank's wife's sitting over there. Won't you sell some of them college?
He bailed out.
I bailed out. I went to Katy to the rodeo down in South Texas, and I didn't come back. I moved to Texas. And I went the year before the college rodeos, and I'd had enough of them, really.
Did you go to the college finals?
Yes, sir. That's where I tore my knee up at.
Uh-oh.
And I don't know, but 82, I think. Real big old kids right off their mamas. They're huge. I got the whistle on the first one. I never got him tied.
Those calves up there, they had a white stripe down their back.
Pin squires, what they call them.
Pinsgars or something that had a white stripe down their back. They had big old flat backs. Great big old calves. Big old bone about that big. Take half a picking string once you get around the front leg.
They run them in there dead fresh.
Yeah.
If you're under 20 on your first one, you made a good run.
It was good.
I like watching people rope fresh calves. Did you like roping fresh calves, Terry?
I didn't care what they was, as long as it was kids.
What's the secret to tying a fresh calf? Without him kicking low?
Time low.
What's the secret to that neck shot you got that's so sharp, Terry, for some of these younger guys watching?
I don't know. I rope a calf like you open and close a gate. If that rope going to that calf like a gate, that calf runs in it and you pull the gate shut when you rope him, Old timey guys rope them straight up and down. That's what made it faster roping.
That's what made it faster roping them?
Yeah. And not, quicker. You could rope going 2-1 like that and everything was coming together. That's what it was right there.
Yep. I agree.
Can you get off your horse too fast? Is there a sweet spot there?
Yeah, you can get off too fast and you get off too slow. Dad used to tell me once in a while, slow down. I roped really good mad, and if I got mad, I would be climbing off a little too soon sometimes.
But back there in the day, when we were kids, Terry and I, we could go rope 3 nights a week right here within 40 miles of Pawhuska.
I made my spending cash during the week. I'd come here, tell that roping usually on Monday nights, Bartersville on Tuesday night, and Copan on Wednesday night, and I'd clear 800 a week to them 3 little jackpots.
And they'd rope 2 for 20, 2 for 25, or then have 1 for 20 when it's all over with. There'd be 40 guys, 3 nights a week, and what's the best practice in the world but rope with 40 guys 3 nights a week?
30 of them were pretty tough boogers too, weren't they?
37 of them were pretty tough out of 40. So that made a lot of tough ropers in this country. You just talked about this country. Well, they intermingled a lot
Yeah, there wasn't no BC deal then.
with money on the table, on a weekly basis.
Yes, sir.
And that made it tough around here. A lot of roping.
I imagine.
A lot of roping. So,
Speaking of roping around here, you know what I saw on the internet the other day, Hank? You remember when you were here, when you did your podcast, we talked about that deer roping.
yep.
Well, anyway, someone found a bunch of articles on that thing.
Right.
Times and everything.
Right.
Yes.
Times?
Yes.
Oh, I'd love to see them.
Standing room only was at this deer roping. Here, I got it.
Right.
I got it pulled up here. It's pretty good. I think Jim Davis's dad, he tied one in 30.
My dad won the deer roping.
Well, they may have had more than one. I'm going to look it up here for just a second.
They had they had a buffalo roping and a deer roping. And
Where
that at Fairfax
Yeah.
in the late 50s sometime. And they got the deer from an outfit over there at Ponca City. Guy raised them, an oil guy. And Dad always said them deer were real easy to rope. And he said they tied like a goat.
Yeah, but they did.
Talk to
But he said them buffalo, he said they's kind of hard to rope. He said they kind of had their head low-headed.
Buffalo won't take a tie either, hardly, some of them.
Yeah, they said they can't take a choking either because they're.
One time, the buffalo, there was a drive-through zoo there in Hutchinson, Kansas, where I grew up. They had some elk in one pen, and they had some buffalo in a pen, deer in a pen, ostrich in a pen or something, and you just drove through it. Is it at the public park? The buffalo got out one time, and they called my dad. He was out on the golf course, the buffalo. They called him up, and long story short, there's a little bit more to it.
Yeah.
But long story short, he goes up there and he ties the buffalo down on the golf course for him. They load him and take him back, put him in the pen. Them boogers were mean, though.
Yeah,
we used to,
they
because
were.
it backed up right to the river, and we'd ride our horses down to the river and keep them in shape and stuff. And then buffalo would charge the fence every time.
Huh.
Them
Well,
boogers.
were they hard to get run down the rope? Or?
Hey, Dad, he's sitting right over here. How was that buffalo to rope and tie down? Did you rope him around the horn? Did you rope him around the neck?
I roped him around the horn, tripped him, tied him down on the ninth green.
No problem for
I tell you,
Rock.
a buffalo, a lot of horses are scared to death of buffalo, the smell of them. Old Pac-Man, if he seen a buffalo twice in his life, and they had to move him once at a rodeo, because I couldn't get him to the roping chutes because he was petrified of one.
He'd done been buffaloed out.
I mean, he wouldn't get within 1,000 foot of one. I was at South Dakota in the slack one morning, and I was leading him up there and had my rope kit in my hand. I was just walking and leading him, and he just stopped and run off backwards. And I said, "Oh no, there's a buffalo somewhere." And I looked up, and it was right behind the box.
The buffalo.
I said, "Y'all gonna move that buffalo, or you're gonna turn me out, because there's no way Pac-Man going up there."
I can't get him in the box.
And they moved him. He went up there then.
What about Goose?
He wouldn't have bothered him. He wouldn't have cared.
He wouldn't have cared. Old Goose was a bronc though.
He'd buck your ass off.
He didn't like you messing with head or nothing.
Nothing.
He was all business, wasn't he?
Yeah, I'd run 100 a day on him just so he wouldn't buck you off.
And you could head or heel or do
Yeah.
whatever you wanted to. On
Do it
him.
all on him.
Why was Goose that good?
I guess because he's that tough. I don't know. I seen him when I was about 11 years old. I run in the barn at John's Yearout's house, and it had a barn with 3 stalls in it, and he was in the last stall. When he seen me, he went through the side of it. That's how bronky he was.
Mm-hmm.
I said, "What is that thing?" About 3 years, he was mine.
About 3 years he was yours.
Daddy bought him when he was 4. He was just like a yearling then. I mean, he was wild. Doug Partain started him, but he did work. Woo, he worked. He'd run and stop and get back. But he'd kick you. He didn't bite you, but he'd kick you or buck you off, either one.
Old Goose, I remember old Goose. He was a bronc. You could head on him. You could heel on him. You could do anything you wanted to. But pet him on the dadgum head. He didn't like that.
He wasn't very big. His mama was a Welsh mare. I mean, I roped 800-pound steer on him one time in the pasture, and he jerked him straight over backwards.
Oh, that Goose, he was something else. He had big motor, big heart.
Terry, you've seen a lot, done a lot. If you're going to give a young kid some advice, or an old guy, anybody wanting to start learning how to rope calves, what would you give them?
Oh, if you want a rope, you just got to rope. You know, you can buy your books, but if you want a rope, just pick up that rope and handle it. Who messes with that rope most, who's going to win the most?
You think they should find a mentor, someone that does it to hang out with,
Well,
learn from?
you can, but it don't make a darn if you want to rope, you'll do it on your own if you want to do it.
Yeah, one of the best trick ropers in history was a 7-foot guy from London or something, you know.
Really, he just started playing. He just kept that rope in his hand.
Hank, I was at Sheridan one year, and he was on a pogo stick doing the Texas skip on a flatbed trailer.
Wow.
You know, there's a lot of them trick ropers that can really do them tricks that can't rope. It don't make sense to me. If you can do trick rope, you ought to be able to rope.
You'd think.
You'd think they could rope anything that moved.
Right.
Yeah.
Will Rogers could. That
Yes,
dude could.
He could. He'd rope the mouse.
Yeah, he roped that mouse on TV right
Yes,
around
sir.
the neck.
He did.
He
right
did.
around the neck.
He
yeah.
choked that mouse.
And then the next scene, he roped a cat out the window, pulled him up, tied it by the mouse.
Yeah. Tied him by the, yeah.
He roped a goose on that one. He roped a goat with the swayed back horns, slick around the horns. He,
Right.
that guy can rope just about anything.
That guy, he can handle a rope. And their ropes. Think about how far ropes they've came since then. You know, I mean the old silk manila ropes. You know, the
If they
grass
could
ropes.
rope them limber sunbucks, and
They
you know
could-
there's like a rag.
Exactly. That's just.
Were you
what I'm
using
saying.
grass ropes?
Yeah, I use grass rope, but
What all do you have to do to keep your grass ropes feeling good? It's crazy. I'd watch these calf ropers doing all kind of stuff, you know,
gotta
in the
keep 'em
parking lot.
You got to keep them in your can. You can't let them have a lot of sun on them. But the king ropes, they can have a lot of sun. They're hard, but them other ropes are soft. They'll just get like a noodle.
You ever forget a rope under the hood?
Yeah, once or twice.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you what. Tell everybody, calf ropers sometimes when they use the grass ropes, I'd look up and they would have their truck running and have the rope underneath the hood with the hood just about that far open. You know, why would they do that?
Well, make the rope a little bit limber. You know, when I was rodeoing, I always just had one good rope in my rope can. I never had two. I never had three. Everybody said, "Why you got one rope?" I said, "I got one good one. I use it at the rodeo. I don't use it to practice with. I've used one 3 years."
You was a one rope man.
I said, "Well, when I get there, I ain't got to be confused which one I'm going to use. I'm going to get that now."
I was the same way, Terry.
And I didn't like crunching the rope in there, 2 ropes or 3 ropes in your rope can, because it bend the eye on them. If you touch the eye of my rope, I'm ready to kill you. I don't want you to touch it.
Don't touch the
And I've never let nobody use one of my ropes till last 4 or 5 years, and it's just been a couple of them. But I'll use polys now since I got older. I don't want to take time to mess with them, but I got one good grass rope, and I got it pretty good right now, and I ain't used it yet.
He's got to put up.
Well,
rainy day.
I got it in my rope can. I've done sacked it and everything. I put a bread sack down up and down it, and boy, it makes them slick, and they last a lot longer like that.
You like to put powder on them?
Little, but I got me one. I get somewhere big enough, I'm gonna crack that grass rope out.
What about the armor all? Did you ever do that?
I did on my nylon some, but not on my grass.
I dealt with a show sheen before,
Show
Yeah.
Sheen.
and that booger
Lose it out of your
it
hand.
slides.
slick booger.
It slides.
Now them polys, you can take a poly that's limber and take that lacquer, that paint stuff, and spray it
Yes,
and
sir.
let it, and it'll stiffen one up for so many runs. But just some books will go out of your hand backwards. It'll be so slick.
Be too slick.
Hey, Terry, we ask everybody this that comes to do the podcast. Normally Jimbo asks, but I will this time. If you were making a Mount Rushmore of calf ropers, 4 names, 4 faces to be on there, who are they going to be? It's just your own personal Mount Rushmore.
Well, you'd have to have Roy on there, and I would think Jim Bob Baptizer, Phil Line, probably Tom Ferguson.
You know,
Good
Roy
choices.
said
Good choices.
3 of the 4 of those on his, Roy Cooper.
He did.
He didn't say his name. Yes. Yeah. I got to say, that's some pretty good stuff right there. Those 4 names. Normally, I'm throwing a bunch of other names out there at you.
Right. That's 4 of the greats.
I'd throw Cody Ole on there just because he might be one of the greatest calf ropers I've ever seen with my own eyes,
Right.
for sure.
Yeah, he roped good.
He could rope. Well, what I liked about him, he could win Cheyenne 30-foot score. He could win Corpus Christi, Texas, no score. He could win on big calves. He could win on a 10-head match. It didn't matter. He was just winning and
He could
winning
be
and
10
winning.
or 7 or whatever it took. He could
Whatever
do
it took for him to be.
Whatever it took, he could do it.
But yeah, what a roper.
Yeah. But
Best tire I've ever seen, Jerome,
He
with
could-
his hands.
big,
Jerome could flank that buffalo over there.
Who's the fastest? Who's the fastest from the horse to getting their hands up
Now,
ever?
oh,
Besides you.
I was up there at one time.
Yeah.
But I ain't no more, but I was there at one time. But there's a lot of them now. There's not just one. There's a lot of them.
What about that little guy from down there around Houston named Ricky Kenton?
Ricky can get it on, man. Little tricky Ricky could rope good.
He held the world record for quite some time.
He still does, I think.
Does he?
I don't know how
6'4".
fast that was.
I think 6'4".
It was 6 something up
Like
in
that.
Canada, I think.
Yeah.
You figure that out, like I said, that 1.6, 1.5, 1.7, and then 4.2, 4.3 going down the rope. There you go.
What's the difference in roping up in Canada and roping down here?
Well, when I
you?
went, the calves were pretty good and little. The Longhorns, I mean, just fast setups. I mean, they got a lot of rodeos in Canada. I mean, a lot of them. I think they shut it down there for a long time because of COVID, but they have a lot of rodeos up there.
Different kind of calves, though. That kind of a Longhorn cross calf, right?
Yeah.
Something I always noticed about you, Terry, is I saw a lot of calf ropers growing up, and if everything didn't go perfect, it looks like they just give up and sit on the calf's head and wait on the untie boys to get there. I never saw you give up. I saw you hustle through every single run, try to do every single thing you can to be as fast as you can, whether you're going to be 7 or 17.
You can't give up. I wouldn't give up. I'd stay hooked now. I mean,
No quit.
that's what's wrong with a lot of kids now. They don't want to work at it hard enough for me. I love helping kids, but there ain't very many that want to dedicate themselves to that,
Right.
And that's what it takes to be good.
Yeah, Terry, they ain't no quit over there.
That's something that always struck me about you is I never saw you just walk back to your horse because everything didn't go just right for you.
Motion for the untie guys to come get him.
You were still trying to tie something because you never know what's going to happen in the
Still
sport of
trying to get
rodeo.
him tied. Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. Still trying to get a time.
Yep.
Yeah, you and Brent Lewis and Ricky Canton. He's another guy like that, I think.
That Ricky Canton and little Terry, now they was both go fast.
That's right.
Go fast.
Some of the best.
Yeah, Ricky did rope good. Real good.
Yeah, what if you was to come back and start roping again right now, I wonder where the I've always said if they rope the kind of calves like they're roping now and the kind of scores that we've got and the situation was all changed in Terry's day, that there would be a different list of world champions or champions, I'd say, not world, but champions, and I think he would be at the top of it.
Well, wherever he decided to go for any length of time, he would be at the top of that. Anyone's
Yeah.
list, I would have to say, but for sure, with the setups now.
With the setups now.
For sure.
Like him and Ricky, I mean, there would been a different names in different places.
That's just like now. I help Tyler Milligan a lot, and he ropes good. The kid does it. And all last winter, I told him, I said, I just wish one day in my life, I could come back just 35. If I was 35, I'd put that rope on you today, and you'd remember it the rest of your life. And he said, oh, you think you could? I said, no, I don't think so. I would.
I could. I would.
I said, you'd throw that rope can away when I got done. Because he don't know how I was. I mean, but he does know how I was, but he don't know like that.
Yeah, you're one of these famous roping Okies. You're right there with Ralphie Williams. You're right there with Terry Crow and all the greats, man. And everybody knows who you are, and everybody knows that you're one of the deadliest calf ropers to ever come down the pike.
Well, it was.
We're sure proud of you.
It was.
I bet you can still tie one pretty quick, Terry.
I can't tie one real quick, but I can tie one down.
You can get a time, can't you?
Yeah, I can get a time.
Well, you got anything else for Terry today, Hank?
Boy, I don't got anything. I mean, it's just I enjoyed getting to set in for old Jimbo, and I hope he gets to everything goes well with him. And I enjoyed sitting here visiting with Terry and you, and thank you for the opportunity.
Oh, shoot, man.
Yeah.
Well, we were just real lucky you were in the vicinity today,
Yeah, it's
Hank.
lucky.
Thank goodness.
Yeah.
We had the Hankster here.
Yeah.
We appreciate you coming on today, too, Terry.
You're welcome.
Is there anything else you forgot you want to get out there before we get off here?
I don't believe so. I guess that's probably about it.
Well, you know, besides his dad being a hand, he's got some other people in his family pretty dang good hand at rodeo. And did your sister? She made the NFR here.
Yeah.
What, 2 or 3 years ago?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I bet that was a proud time for your family.
Yeah. I mean, she was wanting to quit, and I was at the house that day. I said, look, Tracy, I walked outside. I said, you got to go. I said, I should have been there, but I didn't do it. I said, you're the only one left. You got to go. And away she went.
She did. And it was just a Cinderella story, best I remember, you know, with the horse. And
yeah, I was proud of her.
Everybody was, for sure.
Yeah, everybody. Yeah, Tracy, she made the big one on Dolly Joe, the little mare. And Terry, he went out there and watched her. And she had a whole support crew that went out and watched her from around here, so it was all good.
Hell, this whole part of Oklahoma was cheering for her.
Yeah, she had a big support team. Yeah,
no doubt about it. We were all glad to see that Postrach name going to the NFR out there too.
Yeah,
everybody was sure glad to see it.
That's big stuff. Good stuff.
Well, Terry, good seeing you, man. Thanks for coming over.
Thank you a lot.
And everybody else, hopefully Jimbo's back next week feeling better. And
yeah.
Be sure and tell everybody about the podcast, like and subscribe, and come see us at the museum. It's awesome.
It is that.
It's the best show in Pawhuska.
That's right. All right. See everybody next week. Thank y'all.
Old stories like long lost friends, rodeos and late night bends, history before our time, round pens and pasture rides, cowboys of the Osage